In this video, I'm going to be reading to you from a transmission from Thoth that was given to me probably around 2006. I came across it the other day. I wasn't looking for it. I didn't even know it existed. In fact, I still don't remember it. And when I read it, I just actually shed tears because it is so much for today and what is going on in the world today. I can't tell you how many times this happens to me. I have, as you've heard me say many times, most of you, over 55 years of written material from those transmissions. And I can't possibly remember all of that. I know the key stuff, the core science and all of that, but all of these many transmissions I cannot remember, even when I read some of them. And so I can't tell you how many times I come across something that I received years ago, sometimes many years before this century, and I know that when I received it, it was like, oh, this is interesting, and I file it away, or I, put it in a periodical or something, and that's that. And then I come back these many years later, and I read it, and I go, oh my God, because it so suits that moment in history, that moment in time, in a way it did not entirely when I wrote it. And this is one of those moments, and it was especially dramatic for me and heartrending, in a way heart uplifting as well. So it's not long. I'm going to share it with you. However, because of the sensitive nature of it, I want to make sure it is understood properly. So I will be reading it in portions and pausing with the reading and discussing it. That is, I went to Thoth about it the other day and asked him to give me more information, really greater understanding of what he presented to me then, in the context of today's historical perspective. So that's how I'm going to be doing this. Before I begin with this transmission, I wish to read to you about the Bodhisattva vow, both the standard version of that and Thoth's interpretation. Bodhisattva is a Buddhist concept. The literal meaning of bodhisattva is being bent of enlightenment. In essence, a bodhisattva is perceived in a religious context as a self-enlightened incarnated soul who will one day, in future incarnation most likely, achieve complete enlightenment. According to my insights into the Akashic Library of Thoth, all souls will one day become bodhisattvas. As far as any being receiving complete enlightenment, I question if there is such a thing, since the all is constantly redefining itself. In G.A. Gaskell's Dictionary of All Scriptures and Myths, we read under Bodhisattva the Great, and I quote, a symbol of the germ of the one soul in the cycle of involution, the incarnate higher self. Gaskell then proceeds to relate the entering of the Bodhisattva into the cave of Nana, a symbol of the receptive personality, wherein resides the Serpent King, a symbol of wisdom and enlightenment, which enters the personality to illuminate it and raise it upward to perfection. From the Akasha Library of Thoth, we see that the Serpent King enters the Bodhisattva aspect of Rex Mundi to illuminate and carry the cup-bearing King of the world into the heart of his transfiguration. Now, I have a video on Rex Mundi, and I will put a link to that in the information box below. But essentially, this is not a real being, a person, a soul. It is an aspect of cosmic dimension. The Bodhisattva vow, as stated in various Buddhist texts, is a soul choosing to incarnate again and again in order to assume a world role in its personal journey of liberation, doing so not only for itself, but for all humanity, devoting the wisdom gained in the process to the service of world enlightenment. Thoth concurs with this essential view, although he offers a specific expanded thought of the Bodhisattva vow, in seeing it as a response of the monad, the pure spirit from whence the soul ray is generated, to a level of harmonic activity within the lower aspects of the soul, once those aspects are in resonance to a certain degree with their monad. This response from the monad creates within the entire soul dynamic of the individual a spiritualizing of the forces of the will that in turn offer fully the vehicle of that incarnated soul into the service of the all. Now I know that's kind of heady. You need to think about that for a while. But let's take it and put it in a little simpler dynamic here. The Bodhisattva vow is something that creates an alignment within the being to the service of the all. Of course, all of you listening to this today, as light bearers, consider that you have taken a Bodhisattva vow, if that's what it means. And perhaps you have. But you know, it's a little deeper than just saying, oh, well, I'm in service to the all, so I've taken a Bodhisattva vow. There is a primary core frequency that one accepts in the soul at some point in the soul's evolution that allows it to not only accept that vow, but to sustain it lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't make mistakes along the way. We're not talking about a perfected soul here by any means, but one that is continually repeating in the consciousness and subconsciousness of the being this vow. They may not be thinking of it as a vow, but that is what they are doing because they are rededicating themselves every moment to this service of the all. So now let us begin with the transmission that Thoth gave me around 2006. There is a child of light being born through wombs once barren, and it is a hard birthing, for the body must relearn this process. In the past, the acting out of violence was a serpent biting its own tail. Now it is a womb attempting to give birth after a long time of emptiness and neglect. Many souls will begin to give themselves to the powerful streaming of events which propel them toward violent death transitions. Yet their incarnations will act as bodhisattvas of new earth formations amidst the collective of current world myopia and ignorance. More simply put, their deaths through acts of violence perpetrated upon them will release powerful spiritual energies which they have carried for the collective whole. Like salmon leaping upstream to spawn and die, these souls will seed a new heaven and earth with the beginning of new world consciousness. I wish to pause here in the transmission to elaborate further on what is stated here. In no way is it meant to glorify or condone violent tyranny or violent deaths of any kind. Man's inhumanity to man is an unholy act. Thoth has spoken to me in the past about the mandate of the violet flame. I will put a link to this in the information box below. But essentially, this mandate is a dispensation for Earth, and it enters into the field at certain appropriate times. And so, under this mandate, we can see these souls who have been preparing for this through many lifetimes, entering into the fray. Now, it's not all souls who have taken on the Bodhisattva vow, not by any means. There are specific souls who have, you might say, trained for this. They have built their consciousness for this. They have offered themselves for this. To be able to enter mass deaths, murders, other violet ways of dying on the planet, to be able to bring the consciousness of those who are departing under such terrible circumstances, to raise it up in the very final moments of the soul departing the body, to take it into a higher level of being. What occurs in mass deaths like this, especially violent ones, and even singular violent ones at times, is you have so many souls involved, and many of them become trapped for a period of, quote, time, unquote, in the astral realm, or parts of their being, because it's difficult to describe it when we're talking about time, because time is a linear thing, and it's not linear in the higher realms. But on the lower astral, sometimes souls get trapped and caught in that revolving door for a period of time. Again, have to use the word time. And it's not only not good for those souls because it disrupts the order of their spiritual evolution, but it also is like a dead weight to the whole planetary evolution and the experience of spirit among the living and the dead. We have collected a lot of souls that are in this experience, that are parts of their being, fractures of their being, are trapped in that revolving door. We are proceeding now into the latter days in which more souls will be experiencing these especially mass violent deaths. It's a tragic thing, and it's not some kind of punishment. It is our own planetary karmic experience. So the higher beings, the angelic stations of light, all of this, especially under the Metatronic experience, have dedicated this mandate of the violet flame to cover many aspects of dispensation. And one of those aspects is souls who have taken on the Bodhisattva vow. Certain souls, not all of them, they have aligned themselves for eons to perform this duty at this time, so that there is a liberation involved and souls can be undone from this trapped experience and taken further into the cosmic all. This allows a release of this kind of circulation, cycles of violence to continue, and now to escalate. It's like a bleeding off of that toxic fume, and now to continue with the original transmission. There will also be treasure vessels of light upon the storm-tossed sea. Look for them as signals of New World voyagers set upon the course of plotting maps of greater definition and purpose for the new worlds of the shining Earth Star. Again, let us pause. Now, I don't know what this actually means. I'm not being given insight at this time. So to me, that indicates that this has not yet taken place, this aspect. I'm going to offer my opinion, however, and that is that there's some kind of extraordinary events or messages from on high, possibly beings that incarnate with us to give us direction, plotting the maps of greater definition and purpose, all leading us toward the shining Earth Star. Now, to continue with the transmission, there is the saying, hope springs eternal, yet the view is expanding beyond hope to response. Earth's humanity, and indeed all its living things, are now opening to simply responding to the light of perpetual being. It is as simple as the expansion of the pupils of the eyes when greater light is shined into them. And then Thoth states, we invite you to more consciously choose the path of response to your perpetual being above any other Do not struggle, but surrender to the lightning strike at the heart of your being and let the resultant flash pour into your senses as an elixir of limitless brilliance. Use my mantra, which I gave to the initiates of the Solar Cross in the Academy of Aramu, in later times referred to as the Academy of Thoth, in the holy city of On, Egypt. And this mantra is Utu Ra Hu Mata Sulata. The meaning, I open to the source of life and the birther of all, while radiating the light of the One as a presence divine. Chant this mantra aloud when possible, silently in the heart otherwise, upon rising, at noon, upon sleeping. At any time the feeling of moving away from heart center is felt. You may share the mantra with others. It has not been upon the lips of the mortal since the days of the Academy of On. It is now time for it to be unfolded into the world. Atu te hute ati hatu. In the rising of the breath I greet you. In the release of the breath I embrace you.